Greetings, everyone. This is Leslie Likens with CXPA. I want to welcome you and wish you all a very happy Customer Experience Day. We have been celebrating for quite a few hours now as we kicked off the day yesterday evening for us here in North America. We started with our Asia Pacific members and have been working our way around the globe today. It has been just spectacular to watch all of the excitement and enthusiasm that's coming across on social media today, and we encourage you to jump in, and throughout this webinar, feel free to tweet along with us using hashtag CXDay, and we will be watching those tweets as well. I am very excited to bring you today's panel of guests. It is going to be a phenomenal conversation, and I think something that's very important and critical to our CX profession. I encourage you to post your questions as we go along today. You have a feature within the webinar to submit those questions through a chat box. We'll be monitoring those questions, and depending on the time at the end, we'll bring those questions to our panel today. We'll also have a follow-up blog post at cxpa.org where we can address questions that we don't have time to address today. So please keep in mind, we encourage your questions, we encourage your tweets, and look forward to bringing this very important topic to all of you. So we've been very fortunate to work with our friends at Walker, who have done a lot of research on this topic now for the past year and continue to do research. Some of their findings have been put out in a paper called The View from the Top, and we are taking that research in addition to some other very timely and critical research with CX professionals to bring some data to you today through this presentation. But we have a group of panelists that are just spectacular. I'm excited to introduce them to you today. We have Kevin O'Kame, who is the VP of Global Customer Success at CA Technologies. And I know that the team at CA Technologies is really celebrating customer experience today. And Kevin, thank you for being a part of our panel, and welcome to the presentation today.
Thank you very much.
We also have on the line with us Karen Quintos, who's the Chief Customer Officer at Dell Technologies. And I got to tell you guys, every time I think about EMC, the way EMC and Dell celebrate customer experience, it feels sort of like this grand, grand celebration. So, Karen, I know that your team and all of the employees at Dell today are very excited and also celebrating the day. So we welcome you and thank you for taking the time out to be a part of this panel.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here.
And then we also have with us today Natalie Schneider, who is the VP of Customer Experience at Anthem. And again, very excited to have Natalie with us. She is a member of our CXPA board and a senior leader at Anthem with Customer Experience. So Natalie, welcome and thanks for joining the panel.
Thank you.
And then, of course, I would be remiss to not introduce Mr. Steve Walker, who is the chairman and CEO of Walker. He will be serving as our main moderator throughout the webinar today and presenting some really fascinating information to all of you as part of this panel. So Steve, thank you so much for everything that the Walker team has done, and thank you for being here and presenting for us today.
Grateful to be a part of it. Looking forward to it.
A couple of things that we plan on focusing on with this panel. We're going to start off by talking about CEOs. What is on the mind of a CEO today? What are the pressing matters that have their attention? And then what are CEOs saying about customer experience? And so we have some really great research that Walker has done in partnership with CEO Magazine. So some great insight into the minds of CEOs. And then we're going to talk a little bit about CX professionals. What they're saying about their CEOs, and then we will wrap the presentation today with a really good discussion around, what can CX professionals do to get on the CEO agenda. So some strong topics here, and I look forward to moving this presentation forward. We'd like to especially thank our CX Day sponsors. We have some incredible companies who have really stepped up and made this global celebration happen. This is our 4th annual Customer Experience Day, and it continues to grow and grow. So special thanks to our sponsors, our platinum sponsors, Cisco, Genesis, Moment, NICE, and Walker. So thank you all to all of our sponsors. We really appreciate your support and your support of customer experience. So without further ado, Steve, why don't you take it over?
Well, thank you, Leslie, and thanks to the CXPA and all of you who've tuned in. I think we have a lot of good information to share with you. We have 3 excellent practitioners to share their perspectives, which will be invaluable. We do have less than 60 minutes to cover quite a bit of information. I'm going to try to hammer through each of those 4 topics that were just put up there and give a little background information from our research, and then we'll try to maximize the time with our panelists commenting on their perspectives on the research. One of the reasons we did this study is that we perceived that there was probably a gap between CEOs and CX professionals in terms of how they view the role of CX in the organization's ability to try to create business impact and business success. And so that really was the reason that we did the work, and we felt like this work and then the continuing dialogue could, I suppose, provide a bridge to that gap. Speaking of perspective, we've used this diagram as kind of a visual to explain it, and hopefully it resonates. It has in the past, but basically perspective is a big deal in this world of CX. And imagine, if you will, that the fish in the fish tank is your CX program, that the cat is our CEO, who is rather singularly focused on the fish, probably for nutritional purposes, while the baby is our CX profession, which we look at the fish in many different ways and with many different insights. And it is our insights that we provide to our CEO, who is basically focused on results. Let's start with just what's on the mind of the CEO, big picture. And to that, we partnered early in this process with Chief Executive Magazine, and their chairman, Wayne Cooper, Marshall Cooper, pardon me, his brother Wayne Cooper is the president. And they've done some research with over their 8,000 subscribers and members of their magazine. And basically, there's 3 items that are relevant for our profession that are on the minds of the CEO. The first is talent. We're in an information age, we're in a knowledge economy, and increasingly, the value that our organizations provided are created by people and ideas, and less through fixed assets and inventories and things like that. So talent is a big thing on the mind of our CEOs today. The second one we heard constantly is just the pace of change. How fast things are moving in the global economy with innovation and disruption and technology. And those 2 kind of combine in a way to create the third one, which is competitive intelligence, which is how we apply our talent to deal with the pace of change that's going on in our markets and affect our actual business results. So with that as sort of the background of the big picture, I'd like to turn to our panel. Each of our panelists works closely with their CEOs in this level, and just get their perspectives on whether these topics are common and how the customer experience function might impact how the CEO views one or more of these. And why don't we start, ladies first, with Karen.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Steve. No, I think those things, when I frequently talk to Michael Dell, those are very much top of mind with him. At the end of the day, it really is about delivering customer value and business value and differentiation that our customers see high value in, and frankly just want to continue to do business with Dell. When I think about some of the pace of technology and what has happened, we are at an amazing juncture right now where technology is changing every aspect of how we engage with our customers, every aspect in terms of how we find and retain talent, every aspect of how we can deliver connected solutions across the entire spectrum of what our customers see. And similar to Kevin from CA, we're fortunate in that we sit at the epicenter of being one of the largest technology companies, so we can see these trends and everything before others do. And then second, I could not agree more with your view around competitive data and customer data. The company that is going to win at the end of the day, not just on the consumer side, but also on the B2B side, will be that company that can take the richness of all of our customer data, look at it end to end, look at it from a predictive analytics perspective, understand where their customer is at any given point in time, predict what they want, predict problems before their problems hit them. And our ability to do that at Dell, because we still have a strong consumer business all the way up to a strong enterprise and commercial business, where those worlds of consumer and B2B blurring at an unprecedented rate, we feel gives us a unique opportunity to really seize this opportunity around customer data, around customer relationships in a world where technology and the globalization of our environments are changing rapidly.
Thank you. Natalie, what would your take on this, what's on the top of the mind of the CEO be?
I'd say you've nailed all three of those points, and they're definitely on Joe Swedish's mind. And I'll comment on the pace. You know, for us, it's the magnitude. You know, you think about what's happening in healthcare today. We're moving from B2B to B2C at breakneck speed, I might add, and the whole consumer, the whole healthcare ecosystem, rather, is issuing this collective OMG. And we're looking at consumer experience specifically as a way to compete in this new world. And not surprisingly, Anthem has a laser-like focus on consumer experience. And because of that, we've seen significant improvements in our NPS. But I'd also comment on how we think about competitive intelligence. You know, in healthcare, consumers' expectations aren't really being set by the sector. They're being set by OpenTable and Amazon and all these other consumer-grade companies. So we're really looking at those companies for cues on how to compete and how to deliver differentiating experiences.
That's a great comment. In fact, that's one of the things I think that have helped companies deal with the pace of change is you look outside your industry for the disruption and the models. Kevin, how about your take on the what's on the top of the CEO's mind?
All right, so a lot of common themes there. So we're also a software company, and just the entire world is really being rewritten by software at this ever-accelerating pace. And it's changed not only many things for our customers, but in all of our lives, how we shop, drive, travel, you name it. And so you know, that rate of and pace of change has really ramped up over the last several years. And if you're working on some project or initiative, you probably would be better off looking at your watch more than your calendar as you're kind of driving things forward. The other thing is on competitive intelligence. Absolutely agree. Having deep knowledge about your customers, what their experiences are like, and combining that with a vision and picture of the experience that they desire and that you want to deliver can be extremely powerful. And I'll maybe touch a little bit more on talent as well. So you know, really paying attention to customers really does need to be the focus of everyone in the company. It needs to be reflected in everything from the actions that people take, the behaviors that they demonstrate. And so we've done some things to embed you know, those desired behaviors, ramp up training around customer experience in a variety of leadership development programs, new employee onboarding, immersion workshops that we run with our various business units, and have even created these opportunities for what would typically be non-customer facing functions to have that direct benefit and understanding of the customer experience by speaking and interacting with customers directly, so that employees can have that empathy and understanding what the experience is like, how their function contributes to it, and to create the opportunities to drive improvement.
Thank you, panel. That is a great lead into our next topic, which is how, from our research, how CEOs view the CX function. And I think that those who are attending this webinar can already see how professionals, the organizations that are customer-focused are integrating with what's on the mind of the CEO. There is a lot of content here, and I'm going to hammer through it as quick as we can so we can get back to the panel. But we, over the past year, as Leslie mentioned, we've done a variety of qualitative and quantitative work with CEOs of firms of size. I'd say in aggregate, we've talked to about 500 CEOs, either at a very high level to a sort of a depth quantitative phase to a very, very detailed, in-depth qualitative work on this topic. But let's just hit the highlights of what we found. Probably the best news for us in our profession is that most CEOs view customer experience as the differentiator that they're trying to accomplish in the marketplace from a value proposition point. In fact, it's valued almost 2 to 1 over the next highest level, which is talent, which we've already talked a lot about. And the third is product. And based on our work, we would say that a lot of where your customer experience comes is when you mix your product with your talent and deliver a full solution to your client. I think that's where the world is taking us in terms of customer experience. I think it's almost just as remarkable as what's at the bottom of the chart, like things like price and distribution strategies, which I think if we went back a generation, those would be much more likely to be at the top of the differentiation chart. Probably the next best thing we can say is that when we ask CEOs whether they felt their organizations were effective at CX or not, those who were more likely to agree that their firm was effective also proved to have the fastest growth rates. So there's some real business impact, business results from being customer focused. And we can really independently get at that with the Walker Index. We really don't have time to go into this in detail, but you can go to our website, walkerinfo.com, and learn more about this. But we've been tracking our clients for more than 20 years and their performance against the general market indices. And our clients would be a proxy for companies that are investing and spending money on their CX program and have been for some time. But over a long period of time, they just outperform because they have less risky business models and they're less susceptible to the market forces, and they get rewarded in the marketplace with their valuation. The next topic is what I call the CX dividend. And this was really a remarkable finding from our research. But when we looked at those companies that were more effective at their CX and then asked them what they were more likely to be focused on, they were more likely to be focused on areas like innovation and culture. Those organizations that were less likely to say that they were effective at CX were much more likely to be involved in things like cost cutting. I don't know about you, but as a business person, I sure enjoy growth and innovation more than I enjoy retrenching and cost cutting, and that's what I refer to as the CX dividend. The fourth item that we highlighted in the study is we asked the CEOs really who owns the CX function in their business. And almost unanimously, those that were more effective were likely to say, well, I as the CEO owns it. I likely have a function, but we're trying to spread this across the entire enterprise. This is not something that is siloed. It's part and parcel of everything that we do. And that really makes sense if you're trying to competitively differentiate on your customer experience. You know, somebody, I think it was Karen mentioned the Amazonation of everything. And that's what I call this. But back in 2013, we did some work, futuristic work, on what we thought the state of B2B customer experience would be in 2020. And increasingly, we got these kinds of predictions. It's got to be personalized. It's got to be proactive. It's got to be seamless. And it very much is that the consumer perspective of what the Amazons and Ubers of the world are doing, and Netflix, is going to affect the B2B business world. And in fact, we saw that in our work with our CEOs. Again, those CEOs that are more customer effective are more likely to agree that their company are providing solutions that are personalized, proactive, and seamless. It's not all good news, though. There is still some work to do. While our CEOs do agree that we're integrating customer data into our decision making and using it increasingly as key metrics in our dashboards and scorecards, we're still not quite there in terms of delivering information to the right people in the right matter and being predictive and proactive and actually anticipating what the customer is looking for. The last point I'll reference here and then quickly summarize is that when we ask the organizations who has the most impact on their thinking strategically, the organizations that were most customer effective, most customer focused effective, almost 1 out of 2 said that the influence was coming from the innovation function within the company. For those that were not as effective at CX, it was only 1 in 7. And again, I think this is a CX dividend type of effect, that those organizations that are progressing faster against their CX strategy are allowed to spend more time on innovation. And I think the impact for us as practitioners is, if we're already effective, we got to dial into the innovation. And if our company's lagging a little bit, perhaps we need to push that a little bit on the differentiation. So real quick recap of the 7 points we hit, and then we'll go back to the panel. CEOs think of CX as a strategy, as a differentiation point. There's better business results derived by those companies that are faster moving on their CX initiatives. You've got this CX dividend that allows you to play in a space where the more cost-competitive competitors can't work, namely innovation. The CEOs own it, and they try to spread it broadly throughout their organization. Proactive solutions are what the customers are looking for. We still have some room to go in terms of what we deliver in our organization, and increasingly innovation is going to drive what our strategies and what our organizations are looking at. So I know that's a lot, panel, but hopefully a couple of those struck a chord with you, and we'll kind of go, we'll start with Natalie this time, and just anything that came out of that CEO work that resonated with you, Natalie, or that you might have a perspective on.
Steve, not surprisingly, there's a lot of symmetry between the data you presented and the way we think about our priorities, specifically our CEO. And shortly after he joined Anthem, looking ahead at where healthcare was going, he recognized the critical role that consumer experience would play. We're moving into a world where there's a lot of commoditization of product, we've got competitive convergence, and if we're going to differentiate in future, it has to be part of our strategy. So at that point, declared, you talk about consumer experience being part of our strategy, he declared it as one of our 3 strategic priorities, and that was really critical because it signaled that at Anthem we're putting our consumers first.
Thank you. Kevin, your take on that.
Sure. So our CEO, Mike Gregoire, has definitely placed a huge focus on customer experience. It's something that he believes is at the strategic heart of all modern businesses. And he really expects everyone at CA to strive for it every day. Placing customers at the center of all that we do, measuring our success by our customers' success. They're messages that don't just sit inside of CA's walls. They're ones that do get communicated out to our customers as well. And he's communicated a fair amount of the work that we've undertaken over the last several years to go through a transformation, and that includes the people and talent, the process that we go through, and our technology itself. And I guess the other step that has been taken, we've actually made customers core and central to the mission and purpose of the company. And so to really get all employees of CA behind customer experience, having that mission for CA, which is to eliminate the barriers between our customers' ideas and the outcomes that they achieve, really helps to ensure that all of CA has the drive and determination that's needed to help our customers realize their success and outcomes.
Thanks, Kevin. Karen, anything from the CEO work that resonates with Dell?
Yeah, I agree with all of what Natalie and Kevin talked about. I think there's a couple of points. First of all, I couldn't agree more on these themes around innovation and speed and being nimble. Our customers' expectation is that as their demands change, and sometimes they change daily, they want to be able to do business with a company that can respond in a matter of minutes, hours. They want to know that when there's either a big opportunity that they need our help with, or whether there's a challenge that they have that they need our help with. So I believe a lot in the speed and nimble side of it. I was a huge believer in the innovation side. Everybody thinks innovation is all about kind of the next nifty gadget that is going to be launched. And while there's certainly a lot of super interesting Internet of Things gadgets and connected devices and everything out there, to me the innovation that is really going to be done is going to be in how do you leverage a lot of what you have around customer data and really innovate that from a true kind of customer one-on-one perspective, and talked a little bit about some of the work that Dell and EMC are doing around the total customer experience capability, looking end-to-end, looking at it in a predictive and proactive way. And then finally, the other thing I would just say about, personally, Michael Dell and, how he thinks about this, very similar to what Kevin talked about, which is clearly customers are one of our 4 top priorities, and it's our number 1 priority. So, and it's talked about in this company as the number 1 priority. The second one being employees. I mean, frankly, customers or companies are nowhere unless they have employees and they have customers, so it's our number 1. And I'm in a unique position because this is the first Chief Customer Officer role that sits on Michael's team that is focused on our customer strategy end-to-end, the programs, the capabilities, the new innovation that we're going to go do across the new combined Dell technologies. So I think this is a super unique opportunity, and I think it really speaks to Michael's commitment around the customer in designating somebody at his leadership team level that wakes up every morning and thinks nothing more than what can we continue to do to drive customer relationships, with a thinking that these customer relationships are, at the end of the day, the ultimate differentiator for us.
That's great. Thank you for your perspectives there, and I think very good reinforcement of the study results in terms of providing business impact, how you differentiate. Love the concept of innovation as being more than just some technology, but basically leveraging people, processes, information, and our relationships. All right, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about how the CX professionals view what they think their CEO's perspective is, and see if we can't start to define this gap a little bit. Thanks to our relationship with CXPA and also Customer Think, we were able to go out and get some information from nearly 400 customer experience professionals, and those are the results that we're going to go through here quickly. Really just want to highlight the 5 key findings that we found, and then we'll drive into them a little bit more. Number 1 is that CEOs, not perhaps maybe to the magnitude of our 3 panelists today, but they are generally felt to be customer focused for the most part. Second, that leveraging CX to create an advantage requires a strategy that delivers substantial impact to the business. And this would be very key with our analogy, if you remember the cat and the baby. CEOs are looking for results, not necessarily scores. 3, the role of the CEO is essential for delivering that CX business impact. 4, CX professionals must be aligned with those outcomes that the CEO expects. And our professional study of CX professionals said that they think CEOs are primarily focused on financial metrics, and you may be a little surprised at how they view that. So let's go to the data. More than a half and up to almost 2/3 of our respondents of CX professionals gave their CEOs good marks, sort of top 2 agreement box on these 3 statements. 67% say that their CEO wants to understand the customer perspective. 63% say that their CEO is seen and heard supporting CX, walking the talk. And 57% say their CEO is actually customer focused. Let's turn to impact now. And customer experience that has an impact, 97%, almost unanimous, of our CX professionals believe that the CX initiatives inside their organization were having some impact. But let's unpack that a little bit. It's only 17% that said that the impact was substantial. About another 40% said that their impact was moderate, and then only about 50%, less than 50%, said that the impact was slight. I think that the 97% might be just a little misleading, because I'm not sure the slight impact is going to get us where we want to be. In fact, I'm not even sure moderate impact is going to be. So let's drive that a little harder. When we asked if CX had an impact, we also asked whether the company felt that they were, the CX professional felt that their company was effective, same metric that we had with the CEOs. And 22% of the CX professionals feel their company is either extremely effective or very effective in leveraging CX. And that seems relatively low. I think the CX professionals have a little more critical eye than the CEOs, but still good for those companies. Unfortunately, though, when we look at their competitors, they also perceive that their competitors are about at the same level in terms of how effective they are at leveraging CX. And when we unpack that, the numbers are very, very similar at the highest level, the middle level, and then at the lowest level. But this concept of substantial impact has a big difference. When we just look at the companies that said that they had a very effective approach, those we found were getting a much better percentage of those were going to get substantial business impact, and they were beating their customers. So maybe a simple way to unpack this again is just that if CX has some impact on your organization, you're basically on par with your competitors. However, if your CX program is having substantial business impact, you have achieved that competitive advantage that our CEOs are looking for. So let me break now and go back to our panel and see if they want to, from their perspective as a CX professional, and how they're viewing their role and how it affects business impact. Let's start with Kevin this time.
Sure. So, I guess in terms of, what I would say about my CEO, Mike Gregoire, he's absolutely made customer experience a priority. It's a top goal. The entire company has placed customers at the center of everything that we do. It's part of our core. Customers are part of our core mission and purpose as a company. It's been a dramatic change in terms of the accountability and results that have been delivered. Communications I'd probably highlight as well. How visible this is to employees and the progress that we've made to customers as well. Night and day difference from the past. There's been a number of innovation programs. We have accelerated programs that allow us to bring ideas forward, and that can dramatically affect our customers in a rapid fashion. And the other thing I'd probably highlight, we're a software company, so software does get judged against a lot of experiences that are out there, and so we've adopted agile practices at CA. And so we've also, as a result of that, had a dramatic difference in the way that we can get customers to interact with us in the design and the build of our products to meet their expectations. So a lot of progress, big focus, and our CEO has definitely made it a top priority.
Great. I really love the comment about collaborating with customers. I think that's another part of the CX dividend. Karen, what about at Dell Technologies and EMC?
Well, first of all, I totally agree with you that the CEO is absolutely essential in driving the customer experience strategy. Michael himself spends an incredible amount of time with our customers. One of the benefits of being a private company is you can spend a lot more time with customers and a lot less time with Wall Street. And Michael very much pivots his time, as does his leaders, with being in front of customers, hearing and understanding their needs, how we can help them, that type of thing. I also agree with the notion that you have to strive to be differentiated in order to have a substantial difference between you and the competitors. And this is a daily job. It's something that you have to stay incredibly paranoid around what your competitors are doing. There's new competitors that are emerging every single day that are disrupting and challenging the normal paradigms around how our customers are doing business. So I absolutely agree with that, as does Michael. And then finally, I would say the other big role, I believe, with CEOs is the role that they play in setting the tone and the culture of the company. And you know, as we've brought Dell and EMC together, one of the areas that we spend a lot of time on is what we call our culture code. And it's a set of core beliefs. The first one that we have is being customer obsessed and customer first. We have a set of beliefs around what we will always do and what we will never do. So building that into the culture, that's a big part of my responsibility, but having the support and the advocacy of Michael and the leadership team in order to drive that. And I think that's what's so magical about CX Day, is it gives us a real opportunity to not just recognize customers, but recognize all of the great employees that work on behalf of our customers and celebrate them at the same time.
Great. Natalie?
You know, the short answer is absolutely. Our CEO, Joe Swedish, considers CX as one of the most important priorities. In an earlier response I alluded to, in 2014, when we really got going on this, he declared 3 strategic pillars, and consumer centricity was one of those. And I think also recognized that in the beginning, in order for us to insulate this from all of the distractions that occur every day, we need great governance. So set up a consumer office, which initially he chaired, as well as a dedicated funding vehicle. You know, how do we kind of protect those investments that are directed towards consumer experience? And I loved what Karen said about setting the tone, you know, and how do you set the tone? And at Anthem, we've done it through a consumer promise and also, quite frankly, changing the way we speak in our lexicon. And this year, in February, he launched our consumer promise, which consists of 5 parts, which is really a declaration of what are those commitments we're going to make to our consumer, what is the Anthem experience, as well as changing the way we speak, really simplifying our language. And lastly, also ensuring that on a daily basis, our associates and our executives are immersed in what does it feel like to be a consumer. So we now play customer calls at our executive leadership team meetings. We've got various immersions, like a virtual reality immersion for our associates to really allow them to kind of sit in the hospital room or at a kitchen table with fictitious depictions of our customers. So we've got a number of those things that really bring our associates and our management closer to our consumers. And it's in a large part due to the endorsement of our CEO, and I'd extend it beyond that and say our board of directors as well, who are very, very engaged.
Great. Let me just throw one out to anybody on the panel, but I'm really interested in how CX professionals are articulating or proving the substantial business impact from the customer experience program. Can any of you share, you know, not obviously any inside secrets, but just a tip for how do we make sure that we communicate the business impact of CX?
So this is Kevin. I can go. We've definitely focused on Net Promoter Score as one of the core measures that we have around customer experience, and so we have a variety of ways that we look at those scores, whether they're through transactional surveys and that measure touchpoint interactions, or at an overall relationship, or even at a product level. And so, by looking at the programs that we've deployed, the progress that we've been making on improved customer loyalty levels, and then translating that into business impact and using it as a leading indicator of the progress that we're making. That metric is the way that we've been drawing that connection and mapping out what the impact has been on business results, and that takes the shape of a number of different business performance metrics that we do track.
Karen, Natalie, any comments on business impact?
This has been arguably the most challenging thing that we've had to have really, really buttoned up. So we've taken a test and learn approach, and with each of our pilots, we've had to demonstrate two things simultaneously for them to be scaled up. The first one is improvement in experience, and we measure three things: Net Promoter Score, customer satisfaction, as well as member effort, which is how easy or difficult are we to do business with, and we need to see an improvement in all of those. The second thing we look at is, does it improve the economics of the business? Because we simply cannot afford to layer on cost that might be passed on to our customers. So in some way, does it reduce lapse rates? Does it reduce call volume, paper? Does it take cost out of the system? And if we've got both of those, then there's a much higher probability of endorsement and funding to scale it up.
Yeah, I would say that we look at NPS, we look at a whole host of metrics. I think NPS is super interesting, but not the only thing to look at. I think where we can really demonstrate business value that is predictive and proactive, and is where we can really win. I talked a little bit about the capability that EMC has built with their total customer experience, an end-to-end analytics predictive platform that they've won awards and have been recognized on. To me, is one of the secret sauces around how EMC engages with their customers, and something that we're clearly going to leverage at Dell as we bring the two companies together. And it's the ability to be able to predict when a customer is really having a series of issues, knowing what to do, rallying the team around it, and then absolutely tying that to future revenue streams. Because at the end of the day, I think everyone agrees great customer experience is about getting customers to buy more of your products and solutions, and they will if that experience matches what their expectation is.
Thank you. Clearly we got three really seasoned professionals that have already figured out a lot of the tricks of how you get this at the right level in your organization. But let's try to bring it all together now. Again, we'll go back to the research, and then we'll get right back to our panel. But in our previous studies, we've asked CX professionals what they need to be successful, and we could bucket them basically into these four categories. One's the right company culture. Two is strong executive support and engagement. Three is a focus on action. It's not just about creating a score, it's about driving different results that benefit customers. And then the right resources. When we take a look at the characteristics from our CEO study of those CEOs that were running the double-digit companies, which, remember, those were the ones that were most likely to be the most effective at their CS program, we see these 7 categories, or these 7 qualities. That the CEO uses customer insights strategically. That they set aside short-term financial gains. Karen just mentioned the benefits of being a private company, and so you don't have to deal with the quarterly earnings. They believe the broader customer story. They're integrating the data with the financial outcomes with what they're hearing from customers directly. They coordinate it across silos. It's part of everything that the organization does. It's not just the department. That they encourage empathy for the customers. One of our panelists just mentioned that they set the tone. That they request information and advice. They're actually out there accessing this information. And then they also make the call on resources. I believe Natalie mentioned that Joe Swedish had set up a funding mechanism to make sure that the consumer experience was part and parcel of everything that they were doing. So now we break it down into the activities that our CX professionals are focused on, and then we'll compare that to sort of what we're hearing from the CEOs in terms of what they want. Identification of what to improve or how to do it. Again, having an action orientation. Creating the right culture. Kevin's mentioned communication multiple times here, in both internal and external communications. That we're doing CX competencies across the company. I think Kevin, again, mentioned specifically focused on employees that are not necessarily directly involved with customers, but are supporting those who are directly with customers. increasing our metrics, making sure that we're driving those numbers, and that they're providing new insights for the business. Unfortunately, our cats, our CEOs, they really just want business results. They want competitive advantage, they want growth, they want profitability, and they want valuation. They want to be rewarded in the marketplace. Now, this is not a cold approach. They truly see the customer experience effort as the way to get to the financial results that they want. I think it's just probably the key takeaway from my take on the research is we just have to keep working at translating our insights into the business impact that the CEOs are looking for. Just one quick wrap-up slide. CX professionals felt that their CEOs were most interested in financial metrics. However, when we asked the CEOs what they look at in terms of customer information, most of them are using customer discussions, sort of the anecdotal or the qualitative part that they get from interacting directly with customers. But 19% said they're using the customer sentiment, which would be in many ways the result of our work as CX professionals, and only 13% said they rely on the financial outcomes. So it's clear that they have a broader view of what customer intelligence can bring to their organization, but again, they're primarily focused on the results. Let's get back to our panel lists, and maybe as we're wrapping up, any final comments you have, or maybe any lessons learned or tricks of the trade that you've had from how you keep, how you keep, and how you intend to be relevant to the CEO's agenda. Karen, you want to kick us off this time?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of dimensions to that. One is, I think CEOs want a truth teller at the end of the day. They want somebody who's going to tell the truth around what our customers are really experiencing. So I think that part of it is key. And looking at it end to end, I think many of the panelists made comments around it's really easy in big companies to be caught up in your functional silo. And there's a lot of people within the functional silo that are focusing on customers, but the ability to look at it end to end and really represent it from the real lens of the customer and be able to tell the truth around that. And then secondly, I do it by really being the change agent for our customers, whether it's in developing new innovative programs, whether it's in driving the culture, whether it's in addressing the root cause issues or opportunities that you have to really drive the differentiation at the end of the day.
I love the truth teller. That's a great swing thought for those golfers in the audience about how we approach our day-to-day activities. Natalie, what's your final wrap-up advice?
Biggest learning, and this is probably the most important point I could land out of my remarks so far, that CX cannot be the end goal. If you're going to be a viable commercial entity, we just don't have the luxury of investing in consumer experience unless it translates to improving the economics of the business. And we learned this the hard way, that if you start out by saying, let's make consumers more satisfied, your business partners are going to ask, to what end? And they should. And until we've been able to demonstrate that linkage between consumer experience and how it's going to advance their business strategies, you're just not going to be in the conversation.
Thank you. Kevin?
All right, so in order to get on the agenda, I do think you need to start with building the right team. You're going to cover a whole spectrum of topics that are going to range from strategy to selling to transformation to your products. And so whether they're in your organization or outside of it, you're definitely going to need to assemble that right team. The other thing to, again, be on the agenda, you really, I think, need a clear case for change. So you're going to need to know what change is needed, why it needs to occur now. how does it impact your future? And you're going to need to back that up with some sort of a business case and actually demonstrate and deliver results and impact. It always helps if you can align with any major initiative that's underway in your company. So if there's something that already has the mind share, the funding, the resources allocated to it, and there's a chance to kind of infuse or integrate customer experience into it, that can certainly be something that gets you some acceleration. And then again, just thinking of the CEO and the opportunity for leveraging that communication platform. If you can provide them with all the relevant content that they can use for that, you can really get the scale and reach across all of your employees, all your external audiences, and I think once you've done that, you're clearly on the agenda and can move towards acceleration. For the future, I'd probably say maybe biggest advice and aspiration would be using all of your available insights and that deep knowledge that you have about customers to anticipate what their needs will be, and to use that to be proactive in terms of the services that you deliver, the products that you create, to help your customers deliver the business outcomes that they desire.
Thank you. Hey, I can't think of three better panelists we'd have to add some color and some practical real-life experience around the results of this study. So I'm really grateful that we had Karen, Natalie, and Kevin on this panel and to react to some of the findings in the research. And for those of you who tuned in today, I'm quite positive that you got a few tricks about how to keep your CX program at the top level within your organization. And I think there's adequate proof that it's not only the right thing for your career and your function, but also the right thing for your customers and for your business. So again, my many thanks to Karen, Natalie, and Kevin. With that, I will pass it back to Leslie for the wrap-up. And again, thank my fellow panelists and all those who tuned in. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
So much. Thanks, Steve. Thanks so much to our panelists. We do have a couple of questions that came in from the audience, so I will bring those to the four of you if you don't mind. We'll have time for just maybe one or two of them. The first question is really on incentivizing. So how are CEOs incentivizing their organization to focus on CX? Not just the call center, but the entire organization. Do any of you have some thoughts on that?
I can kick off. No, go ahead, please.
Okay, I'll jump in. I'd say this is still an area we are testing and learning, but currently we use both monetary and non-monetary awards. Our non-monetary are acknowledgements from managers, etc. Monetary are we've got awards called Values in Action that could be directed towards associates or teams that are shown demonstrating these new consumer behaviors, like our new consumer lexicon, as well as tying a portion of compensation to NPS.
Thanks, Natalie. Kevin, did you have something too?
Yeah, I'd say the focus has been on specific goals that would apply in the context of someone's role or function in the company. And so, depending on your role and how your kind of reward or incentive structure, might be based, there'd be specific targets and actions that would be known, contributors to a positive experience. And so, accomplishing that work would be part of the goal system.
That's great. I'm gonna throw a question to you, Karen. You mentioned being a truth teller, and we have a question from the audience. It's great to tell the truth, but what do you say to other C-level executives who maybe defend or deflect the truth? How do you communicate with your fellow C-level execs when it comes to some of these hard truths?
Yeah, I mean, it's really it's really easy to get caught up in the finger-pointing exercise that can happen. Well, here's what's really interesting. There's a lot of finger-pointing that happens when you tell a not-so-good customer story, and then there's a lot of, kind of applauding when you tell them a great customer story. So it's kind of human nature type of thing. What I try to find, to me, the places where we had the biggest opportunities are when you look at where we have failed our customers end to end. And when those types of stories or examples that are out there, it's very unusual that it's just one organization versus another. It is the combination of all of those. So I really try to find those stories that really help to bring a great end-to-end experience or not so great end-to-end experience, so then we can kind of talk about it as it's something that we all have to solve together. And then, frankly, you are going to have people that are going to be in the, well, that's not my job and that's not my problem type of thing. And I tend to lean more on the advocates and the ones that really rally behind continuing to do that and put them front and center. And over time, hopefully they'll pull everyone up to be real true customer advocates that we need at the end of the day.
Thanks, Karen. I've got one more question that we'll have time here for. I think almost all of you mentioned the priorities that are on your CEO's mind. And if customer experience is one of those priorities, are the KPIs and metrics reinforcing the customer comes first? So are the metrics that the organization is using really reinforcing that?
This is Karen. I will tell you that at an overall corporate level at Dell, I think the answer to that question is yes. I will tell you that we're in the midst of looking at frontline manager metrics, other metrics kind of below our overall metrics to really make sure that those things are really incenting the right behaviors at the end of the day. We're early in that journey of really looking at that across the full spectrum with that lens. So there's more work that we need to do. But I have a huge belief that 99% of the employees that come in to work every single day want to do what's right for the customer. Where they don't do that is because there's some process or some tool or some measurement structure that is incenting them not to do that. And that's one of the things that is on our agenda to go look at over the next couple of months.
That's a great point. Kevin or Natalie?
I'll echo Karen's remarks around, there's a great interview Bruce Temkin just did with Barry Schwartz, and the long and the end of it is that people truly want to do the right thing. They want to be in a role where they're making someone else's life better, and if we can tap into that, that's probably far more powerful. And more often than not, it's really abrasive policies and rules that undercut their efforts. And we've got a tremendous service ops leader here, Trish Cox, that is kind of pivoting away from frontline policies and prescriptive, scripts, etc., and moving to empowerment guidelines. And how do we clear the path so that our frontline staff can truly do the right thing?
Yeah, and this is Kevin. What I'd probably say is, in terms of KPIs, they're this, the customer experience-oriented ones. They're KPIs and measures that they're made visible to employees. So at the start of picture employee town halls type forums, they are measurements that get reviewed, talked about, and communicated so that the progress we're making is visible to the entire employee base.
We've got quite a few really great questions. I'm going to take those offline and we'll ask those to our panel, and then we will post those answers on the blog at cxpa.org. I think we have a couple of other resources available for you outside of this particular presentation today that are available to download. The CXPA has a superhero success guide that features 21 senior level CX practitioners and what they found that's helped them become successful in in the discipline of customer experience within their organization. And then you can also check out, if you really enjoyed the facts from Walker today and their view from the top, you can go to that link as well for the additional insights that are coming out shortly. Again, thank you so much to our panelists. Thank you, Steve, for facilitating, and to Karen and Natalie and Kevin, thanks so much for your time today. I'd also like to give one more thanks to our CX Day sponsors. We have some incredible companies that have really stepped forward to make sure that this global celebration is quite a celebration. I look forward to bringing this recorded webinar to all of you on the cxday.org site. So if there was something that you'd like to go back and listen to again, the recording will be available to you at cxday.org. It will be open to the public, so you can share it with your colleagues as well. And we look forward to kicking off some more online panels the rest of the day. We have continuous celebrations. Our next online event will be a Twitter chat that's happening in just about 3 hours. So if you enjoy Twitter, that's your opportunity to dive into #CXDay. Thanks again so much to our panelists, and thanks to all of you for celebrating with us today. Have a wonderful and very happy Customer Experience Day.
Thanks, Leslie.
Thank you all.